right. So we have Keil Huber live in the studio today, our senior golf contributor. Also, at the end of the last episode, Keil, I'm not sure if you listened, but I'm here to offer you the position of official. I forgot what the title was, something along the lines of lawyer in regards to golf, like a golf lawyer, because obviously you're our golf guy. I know you have an opinion on Scottie Scheffler's arrest. I know you have opinions on who you think's going to win the U.S. Open. So we'll jump into all that today. Keil, thanks for hopping on, man. How you been doing?
Doing well. I appreciate the offer. I'll take you up on that. And my official position on the Scottie Scheffler drama is I'm fading Brian Gillis ever being a sufferable human being in his entire life, because that guy is just, it's like every time something comes out, the Louisville PD looks even worse. It's
Dude, he had his $80 pants ruined. Come on, man. Cut him some slack. Yeah, that just so ridiculous. It's bad when like 3 weeks later there's still news coming out and it's all like pro Scotty and anti
I love the
whatever
picture of
operation.
the cut on his knee, and it looks like a little kid who like fell at recess.
that's what, like, I was talking to my dad on the phone about it because he hadn't seen the picture, and I was like, Dad, literally, it's like when you were coaching basketball in middle school, if I had come to you with this little cut, you would have said, like, toughen up, like, come on now, buddy. And I was like, that's me in seventh grade, not like a 45-year-old police officer. Like what are we doing here?
All of this just added to the legend of Scotty Scheffler. Obviously, he went out and shot like 5 under, 4 under, 5 under that next day, and then the third round wasn't too hot. But coming off of last week, he just won the Memorial up in Ohio. Looked great. Extremely tough course, which I think will get a lot of the guys prepared for the tough course at Pinehurst in the coming weeks. So Keil, I guess where would you like to start here? Do you want to talk about the course? Do you want to go into some plays? What are you thinking here? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, US Open's always like pretty standard. Like, they're gonna make the rough crazy. The USGA is not the PGA. Like, they want the scores to be high. They don't want anyone shooting 20 under. And I think last time the tournament was at Pinehurst, Martin Keimer won in 2014 at 9 under, but the second
Yep.
place finisher was like 1 under. So it was kind of a outlier year where you just had somebody run away with it. But usually the winning score is going to be like 4 or 5 under or worse, usually something pretty close to par. So someone shooting 1 or 2 under a day is probably going to get the job done. Um,
So just to cut you off real quick, you mentioned usually the rough is kind of out of control. Isn't it a little bit different this year because they're making the greens very, very hard to work with, and your short game has to be on point, whereas the off the green or the tee to fairway is going to be a little bit more forgiving.
yeah, so Pinehurst is known for having those kind of greens, which makes strokes gained around the green a really important statistic. And I mean, that's one thing Scottie Scheffler is really good at, is he's a great chipper of the golf ball, and it's kind of leading into that on the Scottie Scheffler front. And kind of like I was telling you guys, it's just the whole golf betting has really been like kind of flipped on its head the last 2 months, and Scotty switched to the mallet putter because he's just, I mean, he's playing the best. You hate to throw out comparisons like Tiger Woods, but there's really no precedent for what he's doing right now in the last 20 years except for Tiger. For granted, there's a difference because Tiger did it for like 10 years straight, and Scotty's been doing it for 2 months. Um, but he's just such a good ball striker, and all he really has to do is be an average putter, and he's putting above average right now. So he's, I think he's plus 320 right now.
Yeah,
And
he's down to three plus 300 on FanDuel, which is just absurd. And in a tournament with one blow up hole and you're out. We saw Nelly Korda a couple weeks ago. She's the Scottie Scheffler of the LPGA. She's been winning every single event. I think she carded like a 10. What was it? An
he
eight
has
over 10.
a 10 on a par three, and she didn't even hit it in the
Yeah,
water in her first shot, which was kind of the most shocking part.
Scotty's
yeah.
plus 275 on Caesars. That's crazy.
It's ridiculous. But like honestly, the odds are probably pretty on par with where he should be. Like it's not even I don't know, like it feels crazy, but it's not crazy at the same time. He's the shortest favorite in a major since Tiger Woods in '09 at it was the US Open, I think. He didn't end up winning that tournament. I think it was the year. I
I
can't remember. It might not have been 2009. It might have been 2007 or 2008, but there was one major where Tiger was like minus 105 going into the tournament, which is just like insanely stupid. Being minus odds going into a golf tournament.
I was reading an article that like if you get Scotty like a month or two in advance of a tournament, you can get him like 4-1 lately. But if you get him like the week of, it's been closer to like plus 350 and like or this week 3-1. So if you look out at like I think it's the Open or something in like late July, he's at like plus 390, which actually might end up being good value if we had this conversation in 5 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the kind of around like December or whatever, Coiner, I want to say, did you bet on him for the Masters like quite a ways out in front? And he was probably what 9 or 10 to 1 at that point, which at the time seemed like
Yeah.
pretty fair value. And then you actually got to the tournament, and you're like, okay, this is crazy good value.
Yeah, I got him at 9-1. That was a couple months ahead of time, and you're not going to get that again until probably I don't know. Like, what world are we where Scottie Scheffler's double digits? He's going to have like 2 or 3 really poor tournaments in a
Or
row
he's
to
like
see
old.
something like
He's like
that.
35.
Okay, no, it's got to be. Like within 2 years, it's going to happen again. I mean, these guys, they go through ups and downs. But I do think Scottie is very special. I remember a couple years ago it was like the COVID Masters when Dustin Johnson was like the best player on earth and was like scorching hot for like 2 or 3 months. Like a lot of these top guys I think can play well for 2 or 3 months, but Scotty is just gonna. I think this is gonna be like a 2 or 3 year just like tear. If it could be longer.
Yeah, there's been a few guys I felt that way with. Like Spieth in 2015 was one of them. Like he felt like he was really going to be the next guy kind of on the scene. And honestly, like around that same time, Jason Day went on like a crazy run. And then obviously
Brooks.
Rory's kind of lingered. And then Brooks with his run of majors, which Brooks he's an interesting one because such a big gamer, but he's never like, he doesn't win enough outside of the majors to really, I guess, be in that conversation. But I agree with Scotty. It just feels a little bit different. It's like, it doesn't matter where he's playing. Like he's going to be up there. His worst finish this year is a T17, and that's the only time. I think that's the only time he's finished outside the top 10. Like it's just, and he's playing against such great competition. Like, and again, to never slight Tiger because Tiger, no matter what generation he played in, he was going to be incredible. But these are guys is a generation of guys that Tiger created who watch Tiger, and they have such advancements in nutrition, fitness, equipment, all this stuff. And there has been never been like a level of golf talent like in depth as there is right now. And like Scotty's still just slaughtering fields
You heard
with
it
all
here
those
first.
circumstances.
Tiger Woods would be mid in 2024.
Well, if if you're on the opposite
Let's
end of that.
let's not turn this into an hour and a half long podcast of me telling you why you're wrong.
um, Tiger Woods, speaking to him real quick before we actually dive into some people who realistically can win. Unfortunately, I don't think he can put it together for 4 rounds, but he's $350. So for any of you individuals who listen to this podcast and make around $87,000 per year, what if I told you a $250 Tiger Woods future would pay for a year's worth of work? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll bet Tiger $1 on Tiger at any major he's ever playing in, even if I don't think he has a chance to win or really think he has a chance to finish 72 holes. It's just I feel like it's my duty to at this point. He's contributed enough to the game. I know the money's not going to him; it's going into the
Yeah.
folks at FanDuel's pockets, but it's a respect thing at this point.
Yeah, and
I'll
just
be your book. I'll take your money so it's going to me instead of FanDuel.
I was gonna say just the feeling of Tiger winning and not being on it would not be a good feeling. So I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
But all right. So breaking down the board here, I'm looking at FanDuel. Obviously, FanDuel and DraftKings probably provide you the most different categories in terms of first round leader, to make or miss cut on a ton of other markets like that. But just looking at the futures to win the whole tournament, Scottie Scheffler plus 300, Xander Schauffele coming off his first major win a few weeks ago plus 1100. Same with Rory McIlroy. Morikawa's contended the past two, and DeChambeau, they're 14 and 18 to 1 respectively. And then the next few, Hovland, Kepka, Aubert, around 20 to 22 to 1. One market also to keep in mind as you're listening to this, you can also bet outrights without Scottie Scheffler. Obviously, all these numbers will be a little bit worse, but you're also not going to have to worry about the best player in the world. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people going with that strategy, the outright without Scottie Scheffler. I haven't really done that myself, but I think it's a good strategy. I think kind of my strategy is more like I'll kind of wait until the day of the tournament for the apps to give out the odds boosts and stuff and bet Scotty to get him up to like plus 400 or plus 450 and just kind of progressively bet him throughout the tournament until he gets to a point where he's like minus odds. If that happens to be the case, then I'll bet on some other guys. But usually I'm betting enough on Scotty to, I guess, kind of hedge to where I feel like I'm at least going to break even if he does win. Um, I have thoughts on a lot of guys in the top tier. I'm fading Xander this week just because I know, Coiner, that you like Xander, but he's he's kind of going up against history because from my research today, there's only been one guy in the since 1960 at least. That's as far back as I went. I figured going further back than that wasn't really necessary, but the only guy since 1960 that I could find who's won his first two majors in consecutive tournaments was Spieth in 2015. He won the Masters and the U.S. Open that year, and also finished top 5 at the Open Championship and the PGA. But it's really hard to win majors at the end of the day, and winning 2 in a row to start your career it'd be an incredible accomplishment. And Xander could definitely do it. Like, he's still been in good form. He was contending for a while at the Memorial last week, but it's going to be a really tough hill to overcome for him, especially with so many good players up top. The two that I really like kind of near that top group that are not named Scottie Scheffler are Morikawa and Bryson. They've both been right there in the first couple majors this year, and Morikawa was there again this past weekend. He's been in really, really good form this year, and I always like guys kind of like Xander at the PGA. It felt like he had been knocking on the door for weeks, and then had been knocking on the door at majors for a while, and that feels really similar with Morikawa, and as far as at least the majors go, also with Bryson. And Bryson's got a lot of power. It's always going to be helpful for a use, especially this golf course. I mean, Pinehurst isn't going to play short. It's like 7,500 yard par 70. There's 2 or 3 par 4s that are well over 500 yards. So his length is going to be an advantage. So those are a couple guys I really like. And then one other play I like is Scottie Scheffler. If you bet him to lead after round 2 and to win, I found it at plus 800 on DraftKings. I tend to think it's one of those things. If you think that Scotty's just going to wipe the floor with the field, I mean, you could bet him wire to wire, but that's tough because then he has to lead after the first round too. At least if you bet to lead after the second round, he's got a couple days to kind of get himself ahead of the field. And it feels like odds are if he's ahead after round 2, I mean, he's going to be minus odds probably at that point to win the golf tournament. So I think that's a good way to potentially get some value out of him.
Yeah, and I like that too because the leader after round 1 always gets a little bit hairy because it's like anybody, well, not anybody, but most of these guys have the capability to go out and shoot like a random, like, I guess it's going to be a tougher course. So first round leader, maybe like a 4 under gets it done for you, 5 under, something along range, with most people around between +1 to -1. Is that what you're thinking, Keel?
I would guess that 65 or 66. I bet there will be maybe 165. It could be 66. I have I think Scottie could be first round leader. I am thinking about betting that. I'm not going to bet him wire to wire. I think I'm going to stick with him first round leader, and then also the lead after round 2 and to win. He's 12-1 for first round leader, and then I also have a long shot I like for first round leader, Nick Dunlap. He's the guy who won a tournament this year as an amateur, and one thing I've noticed on his scorecards throughout the years, he's just like so north and south. Like he'll like last week in the first round, he was 3 over through 5 holes the first round and finished with a 70. He made like 5 or 6 birdies on the back nine. And he also won the 2023 North South Am at Pinehurst. So we know he's had some success on the golf course. Again, it's just kind of a flyer, but I'm like, that's a guy who, if he gets hot, especially since it's probably going to take 66 or 65 to be the first round leader, I don't think he's going to win the golf tournament, but I could definitely see him leading after the first day.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Slade, I guess, handing it over to you. Do you have anybody you have eyes on?
Well, I'll say this: I did do DeChambeau 18-1 as well. Like Keil said, he's always. It seems like he's playing just good golf, or as they say, he's in good form this year. So I feel like he's worth a shot. But I have 3 pillars to my golf betting strategy, and so I'll go through them one by one for you guys. 1, shop your books.
Everyone,
Write this down.
Get your notebook.
Get your notepad open.
Out.
1, shop your books. Find your boosts. Every single day during these tournaments, FanDuel is doing these mystery boosts. FanDuel is doing this risk-free bet on up to $25 on anyone as long as they finish top 20. How is Scottie not going to finish top 20? It's a risk-free bet. You could probably do that with 5 other guys and feel pretty good about it. But for me, that's step 1. Step 2, bet Scottie to win before the tournament starts. That's step 1. It gives you the opportunity to hedge along the way, even if he's not going to get it done. And then step 3, I bet Xander Schauffele to finish top 5 or top 10 every week, because he doesn't always win, but he's always there. And that's been my strategy all year so far. All of 2024, I have bet Schauffele to finish in the top 5 or top 10, and I bet Scottie to win. And it's paid off. I think there's only been like 1 week maybe where one of those two didn't happen. The odds of Xander not finishing top 10 and Scottie not winning has been like 0% almost this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty solid strategy.
And then you throw in these 18 to 50% boosts. It's crazy. Caesars gave out a 50% boost last week. DK gave out the mystery boost, so it's like random every day. That's 4 days. And then FanDuel had theirs, which is 25% for the last tournament every day. Hard to not make money.
Well, and I would add to that too, on top of shopping the boosts. I'm not familiar with like all the kind of mainstream books, but the 2 that I use are DraftKings and FanDuel. And when it comes to like the upper echelon of players, the odds are pretty similar. But when you get into like the long shots, FanDuel odds are much better. And when you get into mega long shots, DraftKings odds are much better. So that DraftKings goes up to like 5,000-1. So if you want to bet someone that's like crazy long shot, go to DraftKings. But anything like 1,000-1 and lower, you're going to get much better value out of FanDuel. Again, I can't speak on the other ones because those are the only 2 that I really use. So maybe there's some better value somewhere else. But I will say, if you like to bet long shots like I do, like FanDuel is the way to go.
Keil, it's probably worth it to sign up for some books right now. Normally they do like a deposit match or a risk-free bet. So you could just bet $100 on Scottie to win, and if he doesn't, then you just get $100 in free play and bet Scottie again at the next major. Might be worth it. The Scottie rollover. But okay,
and
in terms of my yeah, there you go. In terms of my strategy, like I did with Scottie at the Masters, I try to bet numbers ahead and kind of predict who's going to be in good form when, and just try to catch these stale lines at the books. So a couple weeks ago when it was the PGA, after round 3, Xander Schauffele, I forgot where he was in the leaderboard. He was either first or somewhere within like the top 3. I found a book that had him at 25-1 to win this U.S. Open. So I was like, if he wins, there's no way that he's going to be at 25-1. He's going to be down in the low teens. And sure enough, he's down to 11-1. So I'm sitting on a 25-1 Xander Schauffele. I still have my Aubert at 40-1. So that's kind of like the bulk of my portfolio, those two guys. And I'm going against Slade's wishes, and I'm going to ignore Scottie Scheffler. But Keil did bring up that round two and to finish first at 8-1. I like that, but I think I'm just gonna wait to get Scottie live. If I can like snipe like a 6 or 7-1, if he starts with a bogey or someone goes really low, I'm gonna really like sitting on that. And then also, we've kind of talked a little bit about long shots. Keil, you had your Dunlap to lead round one, correct, at 200-1.
Yeah,
Um,
100 to 1.
oh, 100-1. Okay, got
Hmm.
it. So I'm kind of looking in like the mid range around 40, between 40 and 60-1. I really like Hideki Matsuyama this week. I thought he played well last week, and obviously he's kind of built for these tougher courses. And then I think that it might be time. It might be time for Justin Thomas to re-enter the picture again. I think that he's capable of being a top five guy. We've obviously seen it before. Things are kind of on the upswing for him, and so I think I'm gonna have put a couple bucks on Justin Thomas this week.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I kind of have I kind of hold grudges in sports gambling, and I kind of have grudges against both those guys because Hideki was my big Masters play, and that did not pan out whatsoever, and JT was my big PGA play. Um, but I will say Hideki, I believe, is first in strokes gained around the green. On the PGA Tour this year, which the consensus is that's going to be a really important statistic this week. So I think that's a really solid play. And Justin Thomas, man, it was frustrating for me to watch him at the PGA because he hit the ball so dang well. I think he was first in the field in strokes gained tee to green, and he finished 9 strokes behind the leader. Like I saw him miss so many like 5 to 10 foot putts. He very easily could have won that golf tournament with the way he was hitting the ball, and it was painful as a bettor because I kept seeing his odds go up, and I was like, he is hitting. I kept live betting him because I was like, he is hitting the ball so well. Like if he gets this putter figured out, he's going to win this golf tournament. So I don't. I mean, he could definitely figure the putter out this week and win this tournament by 5 shots. He was hitting the ball that well at the PGA. So um, his number isn't as good as this U.S. Open as it was at the PGA. I think he's down to like 40-1 or so. I'm guessing a lot of the bookmakers saw how he played and kind of had the same thought that like if he gets the putter going, like he could rip apart this field. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think either of those guys could definitely win this golf tournament. I'm just like I said, the wound is still fresh, especially on that PGA. Because man, I would have won so much stinking money if he could have made a putt. Because I just kept live betting him like every day, multiple times a day. His
Yeah,
odds would go get
I
longer.
I know exactly how you feel. My grudge is against John Rahm, and I'm taking it to another level. I'm adding this to the six pack. This is an official
Him
play.
to get cut.
John Rahm to miss the cut plus 220.
Yeah, I don't blame
This
you.
dude swung a ball. He swung a ball last week, hurt his back, withdrew out of the Houston Open. Whatever, Live Golf is playing in Houston when it's 110 degrees for whatever reason. But yeah, so he obviously has looked horrible in the past couple majors. Nobody likes him on the courses. He's like walking around all sad because he doesn't have any friends anymore, but he does have $500 million. So congrats to him. But I just don't like where he's at. And it almost makes me want to bet him to win or miss the cut. I don't think there's an in between. Because if he has it, he has it. If he doesn't, he's going to be bad. That's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, I've got one long shot bet. I rarely bet long shots, but as Coiner knows, I've gotten into DFS lately, and that includes golf. Um, and someone I've had on my team lately is Keegan Bradley. He's in 3 of his last 4 tournaments, he's finished in the top 25, and then he is one of only 3 players in this field who has shot under par at this course. And that was 10 years ago, but granted, I still think that means something. He's 60-1. I feel like that's a pretty good number. So I sprinkled a little bit there, but that's really the only guy I've taken that's not a household name.
Yeah, Keegan. Last time, so I actually have a Keegan Bradley play as well. I got him at 80 to 1, so I don't know if maybe his odds have shortened since
I
then,
need to go
or
find that.
um,
Yeah, I'm seeing he's down to 65 to 1 right now,
Okay.
so you got a good price, Keel.
yeah, I've seen him as a pretty popular long shot play. I think I got it. So I threw a couple extra bucks on him because he at one point he got to 90 to 1 on FanDuel, which I thought was kind of crazy. But yeah, for similar reasons, he tied for fourth in 2014, and he's been in pretty good form lately, and he's a really easy guy to root for. Um, I don't know if you guys watched the Full Swing Netflix documentary, but it's pretty sad the scene where they inform him that he didn't get a captain's pick for the Ryder Cup team, and I think that's part of the reason Zach Johnson's kind of become public enemy number one is because like Keegan Bradley had been playing really well and is just like one of the most likable dudes, but he wasn't a part of the boys club on the PGA Tour, and they didn't pick him, and obviously it didn't work out. I mean, I don't know if Keegan Bradley would have won the Ryder Cup, but it was a course that suited him really well, and so he's an easy guy to root for. I have him as one of my long shot plays as well.
I was gonna say, yeah, I use free play on him on one of my books, and I got him for 60 to 1. But you are right; he's 90 to 1 on FanDuel, so I'm gonna play some with some actual
Yeah,
cash because that's a good number.
I I was wrong. He's 65 to 1 first round leader, 90 to 1 outright. So thank you. You Keel though, I'm gonna have to stop you, man. You can't come on here and have the Zach Johnson slander. Nicholas Bear is gonna start crying if he's listening to this. That kid ran halfway across the golf course in Dallas just to get like a head nod from Zach Johnson. So we gotta be nice to him on here.
Yeah,
All right. Any other long shots, Keel? I guess run through us. Run through any other plays if you have them.
yeah. So I like Alex Noren 120 to 1. I think I talked about him on the last pod that I was on with you guys. He's kind of my new JT Poston, and that he's just been like playing so routinely well that I think he's gonna. It's a matter of when, not if, he wins next. Granted, I said that about JT Poston, and he has not won since then, so that's not necessarily always the case. But Noren's been playing really well. I mean, his odds have gotten pretty low in some like more run of the mill tournaments. Like a couple of weeks ago, I didn't bet him because he's only like 25 to 1. I think I told you I was like, it just feels crazy to bet someone who hasn't won a tournament in like 8 years at 25 to 1. But I'll gladly take him at 120 to 1, and he's been striking the ball. He's got 10 top 25s in 14 events played this year, so he's been up there. Another one is Billy Horschel at 170 to 1. He got back in the winner's circle earlier this year. Granted, it was an alternate event. I think it was the event in Myrtle Beach, maybe. But he's kind of had a career resurgence this year. He finished tied for 23rd at Pinehurst in 2014, so not a bad finish. He's also top 5 in strokes gained putting this year. Short game's always important when it comes to majors. And then I also have a play on Akshay Bhatia at 220 to 1. And my parentheses for that, my explanation for that is just the script. So Akshay Bhatia is originally from California, but grew up in North Carolina. And part of the reason was because he came and played a junior tournament at Pinehurst when he was like 10 or 11 years old. And he told his parents, he's like, we should move here. I love this golf course. And so part of the reason he ended up in North Carolina was because of Pinehurst. Um, and he is also one of Grayson Murray's like best friends on tour, which I know, as we've talked about, unfortunately, Grayson Murray passed away due to suicide last month, and just feels like it would be a real poetic thing for one of his best friends to win it at a course that he grew up not too far away from in the next major after he passed away. Um, and then my longest long shot I have on here is Harry Higgs at 500 to 1. Obviously, not throwing much money on that, but Harry Higgs is one. He had 2 playoff wins on the Corn Ferry Tour at the end of last month, and he also advanced out of a 7-for-2 playoff at sectional U.S. Open qualifying. So he's been playing really well lately. Another guy who's just super likable, but in good form. And I think he had a T4 at either a PGA or US Open. He's had a top 5 finish at a major. So he's at least proved once that he can kind of contend at big events. So those are my long shots. And then I also have one just for fun. I have Carson Shockey. at 10-1 for a top 40 finish. And the sole reason is because he's a Hawkeye. So go Hawks, go Carson Shockey.
I like it. I like it. So yeah, I have your notes here. So I'm just gonna quickly, for any of you who missed out, here's some of Keil's favorite plays. He has Scheffler to lead after round 2 and win at 8-1. Check out DraftKings; it's most likely on there. You can also get him at first round leader 12-1. Slade's comments of make sure to boost Scheffler or Xander or whatever top guy you want can help get you some more value. Also, there's Morikawa and Bryson around 16 and 18-1. It's kind of your next tier. And then his long shots, Harry Higgs, Akshay Bhatia, Billy Horschel, who I just checked. He won in Punta Cana a couple months ago. Alex Noren, and then first round leader Nick Dunlap, as well as your Carson Shockey pick. So I guess in addition to that, I gave out the John Rahm to miss the cut. And I think I'm the only person who mentioned Ludwig Ober. I think he's been playing pretty well lately. He just kind of, he's like, you see his name on the first part of the leaderboard around Saturday afternoon, then it like slowly fades down a little bit. So I think this could be the week where he finally puts it together, but he is still a first year guy, and this is an extremely tough course. So we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see what happens there. Keil, Slade, any other thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Nothing golf related.
Yeah, I would say, like, obviously we've had a good long conversation, but at the end of the day, sometimes chalk is best. And Scottie Scheffler's won 5 times this year. He's won, and that's without a win. And I believe in January or February. So I think he's at 5 wins in the last 3-ish months. Like, he just is hitting the ball as well as anybody in history, including Tiger, like by the numbers. And he's hitting the ball better than anyone on tour right now, and it's not particularly close. He's great around the greens. He's putted much better with the mallet, and he had like a triple bogey on the whole 9th hole in the last round this past week, and still won the golf tournament. Like, he's steady as they
Is
come.
Scotty
He's cool, calm, and
is
collected.
Scotty the equivalent of Nvidia stock? No matter how expensive it gets, you just keep buying it and it just keeps going up.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good example. But I guess long story short is the chalk is not always bad. And Scotty's best player in the world right now, so it's going to be hard to. There's a very good chance it's Sunday afternoon. Scotty's got a 3-shot lead going into the back 9, and we're all wondering why we didn't just like empty our 401ks on him. So don't do
Yeah.
that would be highly irresponsible. But
Use a risk.
Scott,
Use that.
the bottom line is Scotty's probably
Just
gonna
use
win.
that risk-free FanDuel bet, so at least you have some Scotty exposure. And the worst case scenario is you get your money back.
Yeah. I could not find that on my FanDuel, so it might be a
It
state-to-state thing. I really wish I could, because I would definitely do exactly that, because that's really good for getting that Scotty exposure. But yeah, I couldn't find that one for me.
Yeah, Slade, you're in North Carolina, so when these new states go on, their first like several months, they're in that like period where they're trying to get new people.
And
So
Pinehurst being an hour away, I'm sure that they're trying to get people who are going to the tournament or around for the tournament to spend their money.
Yeah. So I think Keil, you and I need to bet a first round leader on a long shot. Maybe throw $10 on there, and we can try to pay for Slade's way to get to the course come Sunday.
You know,
to
I
watch
don't like
Scotty in
going to
person.
events. My parents are in town though.
If it's
We
paid
If you
for,
guys
man.
can pay for it, I'll go. My parents are in town, so you have to be able to pay for the 4 of us.
Or
All right.
or we can just like bet something that's minus 1,000, so that we can afford to get tickets for you guys to come to Live Golf Nashville with me the weekend
You
after
say
the US
minus
Open.
1,000?
Yeah. There's no way that
How much are tickets?
last time I checked, like $60, but I haven't bought any yet. I'm actually probably going to go to one of the weekend days, but I'm like, there's no way they don't like get cut in half by the time. Cause I was like, they're going to need to at least try to like get some people there because like their attendance at their events is just hilarious.
Yeah. No, that'll be cool because you still get to see these guys up close. And obviously, it's still going to be a great competition towards the end, which I do want to say real quick. Joaquin Niemann not being in the field is a total disaster because he doesn't have the golf or world ranking points when he's clearly a top 20 guy in the world. So
I mean,
that's frustrating.
for some events, I would agree. For the U.S. Open, no, just because it's still open for anyone to qualify, and he did go through qualifying and didn't make it. So it's
That's
like
true.
all these guys have the opportunity. A couple live players did qualify. David Pooch got in. Uh, Dean Burmester, I can't remember if he was in or if he had to regional qualify. Only a couple, and then Sergio Garcia also got in as an alternate. So there were a few live guys, and there were a few guys that chose, like Taylor Gooch, chose not to go through the U.S. Open qualifying because he just thinks he's God's gift to the earth, I guess. But that's with these open tournaments, it's like anybody can qualify for them. So I tend to agree. Like you want all the best players playing somewhere at once, and like they need to figure out some way to factor these guys into the official world rankings. So it's like there's more well-defined criteria to include the live guys. But when you have a tournament like the U.S. Open that anybody can go and qualify for, including the live guys, I don't sympathize with them quite as much if Joaquin didn't get through and didn't get a special invitation, because I do give him credit for being one of the guys that decided to go and try to qualify, and it just didn't. It's a tough day, 36 holes, and you got to shoot several under par usually to get in, and he wasn't able to do it.
Yeah. No, that's true. And so I guess Adam Scott is not in either, correct?
He is in now, actually,
He
under
isn't.
kind of unfortunate circumstances. That was another result of the Grayson Murray situation, because Grayson Murray was ranked 59th in the world, and one of the groups that gets into the U.S. Open are the top 60 in the official world ranking, and Adam Scott was 61, and the USGA agreed to exclude Grayson Murray from that, so that bumped Adam Scott up to 60. So as a result, Adam Scott ended up in. He was really close to regionally qualifying. He lost on the third or fourth playoff hole in I think a 2-for-1 playoff with Cam Davis, and Adam Scott was leading by kind of a long shot after the first 18 and didn't play as well, I believe, the second 18. But yeah, he did end up. Him and Sergio were two guys that got in late today, and there were a few other alternates from across the sites. None that were no names that I recognized other than Adam Scott and Sergio, but they both got in today.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I didn't know that. Thanks for clearing that up.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this U.S. Open pod. And Keil, we'd love to have you on again. Hopefully, we produce some winners here. I know, um, like you've said, it's kind of just been all Scottie this year, and we finally started, giving Scottie out as a play, not necessarily in terms of just winning outright, but what are other ways to attack Scottie Scheffler markets. So, but yeah, we really appreciate you having you on, man. Best of luck, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate the time, and